Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Wieland, the host of the WB Download, and I want to invite you and welcome you to our podcast. My brother and I own and operate Wieland Builders. It's a custom home building company here in Southwest Ohio. The WB Download mostly focuses on interviewing folks associated with custom building. We stray now and then to interview people who I think are interesting and to break up the monotony of the same old podcast. I also like to highlight things that are going on in my everyday life along with our businesses. I started this podcast to help people understand the custom builder world, but to also give people a chance to hear what others have to say and highlight their expertise and experiences in life. We drop on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month with a new topic and or guest each time. I hope you join us here on the WB Download and enjoy listening and hearing stories of people in and out of the custom builder world. Welcome to the WB Download. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the WB Download. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. I'm Jeff Wieland, and I'm here today. Our guest is none other than Mark Staley and Todd Casey from 84 Lumber Company. Been our lumber company for a long time, and we're going to talk through all sorts of details, including why we like to do business with each other. So I'm pretty excited for you guys to hear about this relationship and hear about 84 Lumber and what they do. So right here in Southwest Ohio, it's quickly jumped into springtime. So we went from sub-zero weather, 15 inches of snow, to 65 degrees last week. They say it's going to get colder this week a little bit more, but it's not. It's crazy, man. I don't know how we can make a house, make a living in temperatures like this that jump nearly 65 degrees in 4 days' time, but we do it somehow or another. Sure makes for a mess on the farm and makes for a mess on the job sites. But like I said last time, I get a kick out of people who are disturbed by the weather, who don't have anything to do with the weather. Pastor Will and I were eating breakfast one day, and in First Watch, and the waitress standing there, it's minus 7 degrees outside, and she's standing there in a short sleeve shirt, and she's like, "Oh, this weather," and I'm like, "Really? Give it a rest." Hey, what's going on around here? I'll tell you. For Wieland Builders, we just moved a family in to their house last week. And this is a house that burnt down. We didn't build it, but it burnt down, and we rebuilt this house for these folks. And we do quite a bit of this stuff where we'll come in and we'll demo it. Sometimes we keep the foundation, sometimes we don't, and we'll get things cleaned up, and we'll work through everything, redesigning the house with them, and rebuilding the house. But I'll tell you that it is a different animal of emotions when you do this with these folks, because it's very upsetting. I cannot imagine what these guys go through. And in multiple cases, these people had collectible items that were destroyed that you cannot replace. They were either sports fanatics or actually sports players, and they had stuff from when they were professional athletes that were in the house. And you listen to their stories, and man, it jerks at you quite a bit. So that's one thing. And then there's also a lot of different things we have to do as far as cleanup, making sure that, one of the hardest part is if we keep anything in this house, that it doesn't smell still like smoke, that you're getting everything done and done out of there. So tough job, but I'm so excited to get them back in there, living in their house. And I'll tell you, my goal with them, they have pictures that they're on their phone of this house as it was burnt down. And I told them all along, my goal for them was to get rid of those pictures. You don't have to look at it anymore. You've got a brand new house. Your family's all alive. Everybody survived. Everybody was great. Let's move forward and get rid of those pictures. So congratulations to them, and we're grateful to be able to work with them. So home ROM update. As we came out of that stupid snow and cold weather, we needed to thaw out for a bit. So it's not like, the snow, it's warm temperatures, so we can go to work. We had a lot of work to do and a lot of time that we needed to get all all the weather and the snow and the ground. And once the snow melts, the ground still was probably frozen and need to be thawed out about a foot, 14 inches deep. You cannot backfill over stuff like that. You cannot backfill with stuff like that. You can't backfill with snow. Even once we got the footer cleaned off after the wall guys moved out, before we waterproofed it, I was down in there torching everything and just drying everything up, making sure that it was perfectly where that waterproofing was going to adhere to the wall the way we wanted it to. There were so many things. So then we waited another week, got things thawed out, and we just started framing here yesterday. So even once we got thawed out and we thought we were going to be able to pour some concrete, I chickened out twice last week, 2 days last week when I had a chance to gamble, and I'm not a good gambler, but I chickened out and waited to pour the floor until later on, and so here we are. But anyway, I never want to put the house in jeopardy. I tell our customers that all the time. For a show, for a schedule, for whatever goes on, let's make sure that we're protecting this house. That's what you hired us for. So shoveling and sweeping is something I've been doing since I was in the 6th grade, and probably before that. And so I do quite a bit of that now. And whether it's shoveling mud, shoveling pitchforks of cow manure, sweeping out houses, sweeping out barn floors, sweeping out garages, whatever I'm doing, that's the majority of the physical labor that I do on these jobs, and I like doing it because it gets me to see different things as I'm working through it. And I like things clean, and I'm a little bit person like that. But hey, we're gearing up also for our annual trade partner breakfast that we do over at Butler Tech. Technical vocational school here in Southwest Ohio, and we've been partners with these guys for a long time, and they do a great job, I just love it because the culinary kids, the students over there, they make us breakfast, and it is so good. In fact, they have a lunch that you can do. I think it's once a month over there on a Wednesday. I think it is. I'm probably telling you wrong information, but you could look it up and see where you can stop over there and eat lunch at the school with them. And they make some really good food. So we get everybody that works with us, all of our trade partners, employees, anybody that we paid something in the last year or 2 years, 3 years. And we bring them over there. And the whole point of it is, number one, say thank you. Thanks for working with us. Thanks for all your efforts. Thanks for caring. Thanks for everything that you do on these houses with our customers, with our company. And then, the other part of it is that we want to tell them what our year looks like, and talk through some different details. We're going to talk about our mutual success agreement that we're going to make with those trade partners, and talk about details on how we need them to perform. So there's a number of different things that we talk about, but mainly the other thing that we want them to do is, hey, we're bringing all these people who are complaining all the time about looking for skilled labor, and we are bringing them to a place where they are physically and literally training these people how to do a job that we could use them out in the field in the construction industry. So I hope that it works out really well. But we are grateful for all these trade partners that work with us. And today is no exception. When we talk to Mark and Todd, and you're going to find out again, and coming up for the first half of this year, we are interviewing people that are trade partners, and we talk about the value and the importance of caring and the relationships that we have with these guys. And that breakfast is no exception. So the other thing we're doing is we're getting ready for the Cincinnati Reds opening day parade float, and we build one every year. I think this is our 11th year that we are going to be in the parade. The most difficult part about this whole thing is trying to come up with the idea of what we're going to do. Once we have the idea, I can build whatever. We could just start going up there and putting some stuff together. But just coming up with the scheme, the theme, and everything. So this year we are partnering with Peyton's Lemonade Stand, and we had Peyton on the show, her and her mom, last year, and hopefully you all remember that and can understand what Peyton does with his lemonade. Very young girl who raises just a ton of money for where she started out for Children's Hospital, and now she's raising money where she's helping kids all along the way through whatever troubling cycle they're going through at that point in time. So we're going to partner with them, and I'll tell you the theme of the float here as we get closer to revealing it. Cody and I were down in Kentucky this last weekend at Morehead State University for a cattle show, and another great weekend, where he and I get to spend some time together. Raina did not go with us this time because she had a talent show at school that she was super psyched about, and I was disappointed that I missed it. She actually bailed on me because we had this scheduled for a long time. But I get it, man. She's got the direction she wants to go, and we were happy for her. So we have 5 more cows left to have babies. For this round. Oli, our bull, he must have had to go out of town for work for a couple of weeks last year because we've seen a little bit of a pause here in the baby department in the spring. So I'm hoping that these other ones come sooner than later because it's wearing on us a little bit. Plus, man, when it gets wet like this, that barn, it's, we keep everything as clean as possible, but that moisture doesn't do anybody any good. Life as a builder and a farmer. Oh, man. Weather, caring, people, cows, pains, joy, whatever it is. So, hey, like I said, today our guest is none other than Todd Casey, the manager of 84 Lumber, and Mark Staley is our lumber salesman through 84 Lumber. And I'm fired up for you guys to hear this because I really enjoy our relationship with these guys. I love working with them. They do a fantastic job, and I can speak with confidence about that because I've been doing this a long time. And when I've been doing this a long time, that means I've had a number of different lumber salesmen, and Mark is one of the best that we've ever had. And 84 Lumber is an awesome company to do business with, and Todd is part of that team as well. So I just can't say enough good things about them. And I'd also want to say thanks to those guys for taking time out of their day to come down here and spend it with me and talk about Wieland Builders and a relationship that we have with each other. So without further ado, I've got Todd Casey and Mark Staley with 84 Lumber here on the WB Download. All right, as I said today, our guests on the WB Download are the gentlemen from 84 Lumber. We have Todd Casey, you're the manager, right? The Dayton store for 84 Lumber. Yes, and we have the single greatest lumber salesman of all time, Mark Staley, with us.
Are you going to hit the womp womp?
Man, that's a good intro.
Man, I forgot to push record. I'm just kidding. I was looking this morning before we got started, and in my business plan that I had to write for college, it was one of the key factors to our business was our lumber company and our lumber salesman. And I wanted to show it to you so you knew I wasn't full of shit.
Oh.
And but I couldn't find it because it's in a box upstairs somewhere. But that's true because
we'll take your word for it.
Well, I think the reason why why I had that in there was because we were building production houses back in the day, and we had the worst lumber salesman ever. It was always like something was screwed up all the time, and we knew how bad of a pain that was. And I'm like, this needs to be fixed. So we needed to get somebody that was really good, really consistent. So I think we found that with you guys. That's why I was bringing that up to say that. So 84 Lumber. Let's talk about 84 Lumber. It's so that's Maggie is the owner, right? And,
yes.
And she's the daughter of, what's the guy's name that started
So
it?
1956, 84 Lumber was founded by Joe Hardy. So yeah. Joe Hardy's Maggie's father. So we're today second generationally owned. We're privately held, and we're one of the largest privately held companies in the United States.
Yeah.
Outside of our industry, but in our industry, yeah, we're proud to be privately held.
That's amazing to be privately held and be that big and be second generation, right? I mean, usually they always say that fails in the second or third generation, but right. For every small business or big business. But to be that big, man, that's amazing. But then all the other things that going on outside of or inside or outside of 84, when you think about the cabinetry divisions, and you think about the Nemacolin, and you think about different places like that are pretty neat. What makes you guys? Yeah, you've been at 84 for a long time, both of you. What's your history there?
I was gonna say Mark's been longer. Let Mark answer that one first.
Yeah.
Here.
So this June it'll be 24 years.
Oh wow,
with 84.
So you started when you were in the 5th grade working there, and
it feels like No, oddly enough, graduated from college in 01. Didn't have a lot of job offers or anything like that. The market was kind of terrible for job market anyway. And my wife said, hey, there's this 84 Lumber Company, $1 billion in sales. Is like, why don't you go interview for it?
Yeah.
So
where'd you go to college at?
Wilmington College.
That's right.
Yeah.
Quaker.
Yeah, the Fighting Quakers,
Yeah.
which is kind of an oxymoron. Anyway.
Our 4-H leader is the judging coach up there, the livestock judging coach at Wilmington, and it's been a minute since they've had livestock judging. So she went back up, fired it up, and is up there working on it now.
No kidding.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
She took a crew. I don't know if they went to Denver this year or not, but it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much it's grown over the years. My daughter, actually, my wife and I met there. My brother-in-law went there. My sister-in-law went there. Both sister-in-laws, and Kendall will be graduating this year, and it's been a journey. So I started out at the Hillsboro, Ohio store as an MT and did a lateral move to Sydney, Ohio, which is a little bit closer to where Betsy and I live now. And was there for maybe like 6 months or something, got promoted as a co-manager, and been at the Dayton store ever since.
Yeah.
So
we met and started doing business with you guys through the CBUSA buying group, right? I mean, that's where we're...
Well, I looked that up. So you
calling me out now?
Well, you opened the account with 84 in February 23rd of 2009. So 17 years ago.
Frank Schneidek was our lumber salesman there. You're right. Right. Yep.
Yeah.
But I thought Frank was like a guy that was up in Pataskala, and for some reason he was doing TK's work, and we got really good friends of ours that worked at, or one of the owners in TK. So Frank handles all of their stuff all across the state. Well, he was down here, and Frank's a really good lumber salesman, really good dude. And so we were in, we started buying from 84, and so we were in Bristol at a race down there, and he's acting kind of funny. I don't know what he was doing. He's acting like he's all stressed out, and we got home, and then he left 84 because his boss was leaving, and they went somewhere else. I don't know what it was. And so then it was like, all right, well then everybody that they kind of handed us off to from there just wasn't nearly as good as Frank. And so, and I think that we were probably also, when we go back to that time period, we were really going up and down, struggling through the recession, coming through different things, and fighting tooth and nail to try and to find good pricing for everything. But again, like I said in the beginning, the salesperson is the key for us. I mean, if I've had guys, where you had 150 sheets on a subfloor, and he'd short the load by 100 sheets, and I'm like, how the hell did you do that? And we needed 92s, and you see they're blue on the end of them, and he sends. I'm like, hey man, we're out. We're 300 short on 92s, and the truck comes down the road and it's got green tips on it. That they're 104s or something. And I'm like, what happened here? Where is the short? And it was always something like that. And so, but that was, so we were there for a stint, and then we left, jumped around for a little while, and then we got back together with you guys, and then we've been there basically ever since, right?
Yeah. And Mark kind of touched on it with the culture, and you're kind of hitting on it too, I think, as far as like training and understanding what maybe the builder is looking for out of a salesman. Mark kind of touched on it with the MT and 84 Lumber. I would say 95% of my staff today was MTs.
What's MT?
So an MT at 84 is what we refer to as a manager trainee. Okay. And a manager trainee comes in, and it's like a stepping stone, I would say, into the 84 culture, the 84 the development stage. And a lot of times those MTs are either becoming managers or salesmen. And we just had what we call spring visit. Like my RVP, my area manager, they are all MTs. I was an MT. Mark was an MT, as he referred to. And the two paths are generally management and sales. And 84 Lumber, as we've kind of grown, you've mentioned like cabinet sales, and there's other areas now, install sales, all these different things. But that's still the core root of 84 Lumber, that management and salesman. And I'll joke with Mark here, so let me see, it was around COVID probably time when you took over for Jeff as your salesman. And Mark, when I took over the store, Mark was there. So he's been at the store longer than I have. And he's been everything from a co-manager for me to a dispatcher to a coordinator of sales. And then during COVID, when we were looking to approach you a little more consistently, I was like, Mark, I need you to go into sales. And he wasn't real excited about it. You know, he's like, I don't think so. I'm like, nah, I think we'll be okay. We'll figure it out. And here he is. So he stuck it out. So he's my multi-tool, I will say.
You know what the connection there is that we're both hillbilly redneck farmers, and that's what gets it going. So I probably wasn't really like warming up to you in the beginning, and then I found out that we were both showing cattle and goats and all that kind of stuff. And then we're like, oh my gosh. It was like, you could hear the songs playing in the background, and we were hugging each other out in the street. It was great. It's
it's always about the people, the connection with the people. Like, I know you don't buy from 84 because we got a red ball on our chest. It's the people that you're buying from.
Exactly.
So
exactly. And the material is material. If the material doesn't look good, you're going to get better material, whatever we got to do. We are always, we're helping each other. We're working with each other. And I think that's super important.
Yeah. And you always put forth, teamwork. We're a team. And that's what I really enjoy about, our relationship is I want to do my best for you and you want to do the best for me. So, I mean, if we can, eliminate any kind of hiccups, it just makes the job go so much smoother.
I'll tell you, that's the case with so many people. And we've been having this conversation, with our team here in the last year. We've been having it my whole life, but the last several months is everybody has the ability, they're there, you have a conduit, you have whatever you have the ability, but the ability to give a shit is it's missing, and I think that's the biggest problem. And so when I look at something, whatever's going on with us in 84 Lumber, when I look at something, whatever's going on with us and whoever, I'm looking at them like, well, it's not like they're doing this deliberately. Now, I've had people in the past, they just don't care. You're like, every time you talk to them, listen, man, how do we get these estimates a little bit closer? Where's the disconnect between your paper and the truck driver? What happened on the forklift? Who was loading this thing? What's going on here? And it's really just like, meh. But for us, we talk about things and we really genuinely care about it. And I think that makes a big difference for us to be working together.
Yeah. With your homes, the large as they are and elaborate they are, you're always going to have a hurdle.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you want to trip over the hurdle, stumble over it, or you want to try to jump through it, So let's talk about it and let's see how we get over.
Yeah, that's all we do because it's the first time we've ever built any of these houses. They're so complex.
Every one of them is different.
How many times have we ever sent a bid over and the guys from the trust company will send back and go, all right, here's what we have to have the architect confirm the windows. We have to have the architect confirm the floor joists. We have the architect confirm the trusses because these things are so crazy complicated. It's wicked. I was telling somebody yesterday, and this is off topic completely, but when we were in COVID, we were buying all that lumber. We were storing it up at the farm, and just doing everything we could to make sure that we were holding prices. We were able to get the material, You have no idea you guys do, but I don't have any idea how much lumber goes into one of our houses when it's all sitting together. You know what I mean? Because when we take it out on a job, you get a truckload delivered and we put it up and you put it up and you put it up and it's not all sitting around. Our whole damn the barnyard and the barns were filled. Then it was one house. I'm like, man, we got about 15 houses here. And I'm like, it was one house. It was, man, that's crazy.
And then we had a driver hit your door.
Yeah. My hand. We got everybody in the barn right now as we speak, as we're doing this interview right now. It started out at -7 degrees this morning. We've still got 12 to 14 inches of snow on the ground right now. And so we've got every cow that we have in our barn. And because it's so cold and so nasty, plus we're calving 10 of them. And that door where we hit it, it gets jammed up. This has nothing to do with you guys. But the other night it's frozen, and you're pissed off because everything's not going right. And I'm pulling on it, and it wouldn't budge. And then I did something, and then it's like somebody put WD-40 on it and smashed my hand in between there, and that's got that U groove on it in my hand. So this morning I'm in the shower, and I'm like, man, I still got something on my hands from I was treating the cow last night. Nope, it's bruised. The whole thing is like broken or something. I don't know what's going on with it. But we put all the plywood inside. We had appliances in the other barns. We had all that. That was crazy times during COVID.
It really was. And I think that's a testament to you too, Jeff, because we work with other builders, obviously, and I don't know if I can name another one that was willing to do that for their customer, to hold their prices, to store their material in your own personal barn, So,
yeah, and I don't know if they realized it, because it was crazy
unique.
times. I mean, we had escalation clauses on our contract, and that lumber was going crazy. I mean, there was $100 plywood,
but that was that hurdle, and we talked about it, and you jumped over it.
Yeah, and it wasn't 84 lumber just being like, oh well, we're gonna increase these prices. I mean, the market is what the market is, and you flow with that. That's difficult. I had a guy. We were when we would bid jobs, and everybody's always like, you got to have 3 of everybody. You got to have 3 heating and air conditioning guys. You got to have multiple lumber companies. And I was talking to a guy that I was interviewing one time, super sharp dude, and I wanted him to work here so bad, but he ended up going into a commercial industry. But we were looking at our systems, and he goes, "How many times have you bid it with 3 other lumber companies and you didn't use 84?" And I look back and I'm like, I haven't. And he goes, "Then why are you wasting those guys' time?" Because it's a pain in the ass to do those bids. It's not a pain in the ass, but it takes a long time. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense, And so I just quit bidding with other people. And so you shouldn't probably know that.
Well, no,
takes a competitive edge off of it.
No,
but you knew that.
I
told you that a long time ago.
I think it just shows the trust that's there between you and Mark, and us in 84.
Yeah.
So
if we don't have that, I mean, and I talk about this probably every week on the podcast, is any long-term relationship I've had, if you didn't have mutual respect for each other, then it was all out the door. And if it was you reporting to the warden or vice versa, that's not a good relationship to have. We're in this thing working as a team together all the time. So
if you're not successful, we're not successful.
Right.
So.
I mean, and that's not good. One thing when we talk about CBUSA, when we got back together, and I think that was probably something that one of the things that taught me being in there was those guys were talking about loads going out, because we're in this buying group with a bunch of other builders, and it was supposed to be Custom Builder USA, and now it's more like Production Builder USA. And so those guys are always like asking, how many units are you going to do this year? And I'm like, well, if I say 6, that might be equal to 30 or 40 of their houses, especially when it comes to lumber and drywall. But one of the most important things that it taught me was the deliveries. Like, how many times are you coming out there when you're talking about the cost of doing business with me? And so if my prices are one way or the other, how many trips do you have to make to the job? And you're coming from Dayton and going to Anderson. You're coming from Dayton going to Oxford. You're going, how we do. We go all over the place. That was one of the big things. And then the other thing is that a lot of those production guys have estimators in their office, and they just run on SKU numbers. So they're just looking at it like it's the stock market every single day, and go down through every lumber company and looking at what's the price of 2x10s, what's the price of plywood. And they just have these SKUs and they do their own takeoffs, where I have a set of plans and I turn it over to you. And then I rely 100% on whatever you guys do as far as doing the takeoffs and doing the bids. That's really, really important to me. And that's why that relationship is so much. I don't know if everybody understands that, if the general public would understand how important that is.
It is extremely important. And a lot of it's kind of trial by fire too, because I'm only as good as how much I put into that plan.
Yeah.
And thankfully, a lot of your plans are detailed. Everything's kind of spelled out, but I still miss stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'll walk back there in the break room where Mark usually will do your takeoff, and it's like there's like 6 different highlighters and it's colored.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it freaks people out because I'm proud of it. And I've got a notepad, and this is the way I do all my takeoffs, and I got a bunch of different markers and stuff. And I'll show people, and I'll take my customers in there. I'm like really detailed, talking through about them. And I think some of them are like, "Don't you have like a computer system for this? What are you doing?" No, this is the best way to do it.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier too. If it was the same house over and over, sure, you could get that really narrowed down. But your houses are always different; they're always custom.
Yep.
So you're starting from the root, right at the beginning.
I did a podcast with a guy the other day. For some reason, these people there's somebody who is a podcast like person who hooks other people up with people who are willing to talk, which is me. So I don't mind talking all the time. A guy did a podcast with a guy the other day about waste on the jobs, and we were talking to specifically, like, I don't know how you guys figure it, but like when we do floors, we're figuring, I think it's 5-something% on the square footage. When I do brick, it's 7%, or I don't take out any of the windows and doors or whatever the waste is on those factors. But for you guys, I think it's so super important to make sure, because you're supplying material, but then I have my own carpenter out there, and if I have a carpenter that isn't watching his guys, or they're not super smart people, they're going to take, and we call it cutting blocks out of 16s, which is just enough to drive us all crazy.
Right.
And because there's enough waste, there's enough scrap there where we use so many blocks. Again, I don't think most people understand that. You can take blocks out of the pile. Don't cut it off of 16s. And so that's really important for you guys to understand who our carpenter is, to trust them. And if you're doing a takeoff, and I've been using the same carpenter for the last 4 jobs, who maybe you don't have a lot of faith in, your takeoff's probably going to be more expensive.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that we're communicating about that. But something else that reminds me of is when Western Home Center was in business when I was younger, which is like a long time ago. But I was walking in there because we had such a horrible lumber salesman at the time from another company. I had more receipts from Western Home Center, and that wasn't even our lumber company. I'd have to take my little Ford Ranger over there and pick up all kinds of material. It wasn't anything different to see a 16-foot something or another hanging out the back of a 6-foot bed on a Ford Ranger.
Absolutely.
But I was pulling in there one day, and the guy was out taking pictures of the truck before it left. And I'm like, what are you taking pictures for? And he goes, well, I've got he had like probably a 30-something foot LVL on there. He had multiple stacks of 3/4 or whatever it was. And he goes, when this truck gets delivered out there and those guys call me and tell me that this wasn't on there and this wasn't on there, he goes, I've got pictures. Now, he had a camera because we didn't have camera phones. He had a camera taking pictures of that. And just, these are all the details. The reason why I'm talking about this is because these are all the details that I don't think people understand quite a bit about what goes on with the relationship between you and the carpenter and us.
Yeah. And, kind of back to earlier with the 84 lumber, like when we started off with a cash and carry, and you kind of was touching on it with like, in the older days, like it was not uncommon, like, sure, that I guess reliability, that trust factor between a salesman and a builder, we would just put X amount of stuff on there. You call it in, we put it on a truck, and it was kind of up to you, to get your takeoff correctly or not. Well, now, a guy like Mark, again, the people, we're tied to that, and we're only as good as our bid, and you're only going to be as good as our bid. But we're guaranteeing these packages to you, to reduce those invoices, to reduce that driving in that little Ford Ranger to pick up the things. So we have
I don't have it anymore.
We have just as much reliability in this package as you do now. We're part of this thing as you are. And again, with 84 being cash and carry, we kind of stepped into that in the mid 90s. This catering to the custom builder, the catering to the builder, and then as we adapt. It wasn't just invoices, transactions now, just shipping it on a truck. Now we're being tied and held accountable to our takeoffs, and if we're high, then that doesn't do anybody any good. It helps you not get the sale or something like that. That's not our goal.
Yeah.
Right? We want you to get the sale. So you kind of challenged us, I think, on that 6-7 years ago. Hey, how can we reduce these invoices? Hey, how can we become more of a team? And I think that package kind of thing, and definitely the consistency with the builder and the framers out there, the more consistent you are, yeah, definitely we can tighten it up.
And what we're talking about here is that most of the lumber companies will give you a bid, and let's say it's $100,000 frame package. So when I look at my lumber, we have framing packages, which is all the dimensional lumber that it takes to build the house, the floor joists, the subfloors. Most of the time it's the stairs, unless it gets really, really funky on most of our stairs. The trusses, the roof sheeting, all of that stuff, that's rough lumber. Then we have outside trim, which is all the rakes, soffits, fascia, freeze board, and siding, and all those kind of things, columns. And then we have decks, and then we have inside trim, and then there's a bunch of specialty stuff that happens in between there. And so this is something that these guys are all responsible for. When we talk about guaranteed bids, what happened was when I was a lot younger, and I keep saying that because I should just say the 90s. In the 90s. In the 90s, and even early 2000s, I would, like I was talking about, I'd have to go over to a different lumber company because it was closer to the subdivision I was working in, picking up material because the lumber salesman shorted it, or whoever shorted it, whatever it was, we were short. And so then that means that every time I would do that, I'd have a bunch of bills from this company over here. I'd have a ton of bills from the other company that was supposed to supply us all the lumber. And it was constantly, back and forth. Well, then I got to go sit in a production meeting with my dad ripping my ass saying, why is this job this far out of balance on this thing? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm like some kid. I'm like, I just went and picked up the material. The carpenter told me he needed it. So then a buddy of mine, his parents owned Western Home Center, and his dad made him be work on a carpentry crew, drive a truck, be a salesman, all this stuff like that. And I was complaining to him, and he goes, well, what if we started working together? And he goes, what if my bid was your bill? And so I had a bid for rough lumber, 50,000. I had a bid for stairs. At the time it was probably like $600, right. and the trusses were whatever and whatever. So literally, when I got the bill from him, it was the back then they had a yellow, a brown, a pink slip, and the truck driver would get one. I'd get the field would get one. Yeah, carbon fiber. Mm-hmm. That was my bill. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could sleep the night before a production meeting. It was so nice. I didn't have to worry about it. So it was a guaranteed package, which means that, when you give me a bid, then that's what we pay. And unless we change something drastically. And what that does is one, it guarantees it for our customers. It gives them a number that we can be confident in. But it also, it works with everybody across the board, knowing what we need, and it tightens up the bid. So I've had other lumber salesmen come in here, and I talk to them, listen to their spiel. This is through the years, the last 30 years. And at the last minute, I'd say, well, we do guaranteed pricing, right? And be like, well, what exactly does that mean? And I'm like, well, if you give me a bid for $100,000, I'm paying $100,000. and if it only costs you 80, I don't care. I'm still paying 100. But if it costs us 150, I'm paying 100. And all of a sudden they back up, and because that's the easiest thing in the world to do is just say, yeah, this is it, and then just keep billing people. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's a big game changer for me. I know we paid probably a little bit more for the excess, for the coverage on it, whatever. And I'll talk to my customers about that every single day, and everybo's is right on point with it.
And Mark and I, we talk about it pretty frequently, maybe every quarter or so, we'll sit down and we'll look at those, and understand like our overhead and stuff. And if our, if we're getting too high or if we're getting too low, and adjust it, and then where we may have missed it, and because we're not perfect,
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's not a matter of being perfect. It's a matter of looking at these things, and these things are so complex. Mm-hmm. There's so many different details into them that you got to know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And when we first got into CBUSA and then my Builder 20 group, these guys had a third party guys that were doing their takeoffs for them. And I think that I'm a builder, and I've been doing this my whole life, and I know all the kinds of things that go on with building, until these guys started calling me up when this is years ago. And I had a guy down in Texas doing a takeoff for me, and he calls me up and he's like, I got a couple questions for you. And like the first 5 questions I failed miserably. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, just from the difference in the bolts and the difference in the straps, the difference of everything we were using. Like, man, this is tough to
and every
understand.
market's different.
Yeah.
You go to Columbus, it's different than here at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So
being a manager, this has always intrigued me, is because you're the one buying the material. You're the one that's managing all the people in there. So how do you have Mark doing the takeoff out here getting business? You're here. You've got so it goes from Mark. Okay, Mark's got it. Mark gets a plan sent to him. He starts doing the takeoff. He gets the job. Now you've got to get the material there for the price that you said that you were going to sell it to us for. You've got a guy on a forklift out in the yard that's going to pick this material and the correct material and put it on a truck. You've got a truck driver that's going to deliver it, and I mean, there's so many different in betweens, that it could happen. The guy on the forklift has to understand framing, because if he puts the trusses on top of the plywood, I'm going to kill him. Mm-hmm. And so
treated plate on the bottom,
of the pile. Put the plywood on top of the floor joist. So he's got to know all of that stuff. How do you manage that to make sure that when I want to come, if I'm going to go work at 84 Lumber tomorrow, who trains me to figure all this stuff out?
So again, back to 84 culture. Everybody traditionally starts us off as an MT, that manager trainee position. Mark and I were fortunate. We came up through that. We come up through maybe a little slower time. I think I started with 84 in like 2006, so it was a little recession was going on. We didn't know the bottom, right? But anyway, that training, you got the co-managers. Okay. So the co-managers are generally responsible for the MTs. And then, ITs, again, back with Mark and I, when we started together, we kind of did it all. We were unloading trucks together. We were building loads together. But as we continue to grow, we just keep putting more and more people around you, and you just keep putting them people around you that, you know, you trust, and you kind of build that culture. And today, you know, my co-manager, he's going to train them MTs, you know, and if that co-manager gets out of line a little bit, sure, I'm there to kind of tug on his ropes like a horse, you know, but for the most part, we want that guy to lead himself, and we expect him to fail. And when he fails, he'll be corrected, and hopefully he learns from it. If he doesn't learn from it, then we got a bigger issue, I suppose. But, you know, that's the kind of the attitude I bring to the team. And then, of course, you know, I'm working more and more with the salesmen in the back there. You know, they got their coordinators. You got Caleb and Kevin and them guys inside there. They're helping these guys key in their bids once they do a takeoff. They're scheduling, if we're here at a podcast or something, you know, they're scheduling the loads for Mark and the guys in the team. And then I got my dispatchers, I got my warehouse manager, my yard manager. So, you know, maybe to answer your question, I'm not working with 30 individuals every day. I'm working with a core of 4 or 5, you know, my co-manager, dispatch manager, the salesman, these things. But the more and more as we grow, I think I become less of a manager and more of a like
Therapist.
a therapist. You know, you're just working with people, you know, and you're putting the people out there that you trust. And if they're doing a great job, you know, you make sure you let them know that on daily. And I know that's not always easy in our industry. We don't always pat each other on the back, but it's something, you know, it's important to do and remind people, you know, and let them know what your expectations are, you know? And I kind of give that back right up to Maggie. You know, she does the same thing every year. We got a manager meeting. Maggie gets up there and gives us a rundown on what the company is and what our goals are for the year. And it trickles down to the area managers, to the managers, and then hopefully down to the people in the yard. So
have you met Maggie?
Yeah, but, you know, again, once a year we get together at Nemacolin. We do just a real quick kind of recap of the year. It's usually 2 days up there. But yeah, she's real personal. You know, she'll come up, shake your hand. She'll cuss with the best of you, you know. So she's, you know, I was just telling the guys this actually, and, you know, we're talking about purchasing and stuff, you know. I'm putting orders out there and stuff, but we got a team at corporate headquarters, you know, and them guys are wizards when it comes to that market and buying power and all these kind of things. And Mitch Wagner's one of those guys that's been around for 84 Lumber for 40 years. So this will be my 21st year. So he's all I've ever known as far as purchasing. But he announced his retirement there at this past town meeting. And Maggie's up there and she starts crying, you know. And that's the kind of person I think she is. I mean, she sends me anniversary cards. She sends birthday cards out, you know, like those kind of things. And Joe, right up to the day he died, he lived to be 100, but he would call the stores individually every day, the top 20 stores. And he didn't care who picked up the phone. He'd talk to you for just a couple minutes and tell you to keep pushing for sales, you know. So everything's sales driven at 84. And it goes right down to each individual. And then forklift guys, you know, you said you train them to understand the building process. And a lot of times those guys I pull in to be my MTs. Yeah. You know, if they're successful out there in the yard, we pull them to be in MTs and we keep growing them. We talked a little bit about being privately held, you know, we promote dominantly from within. You know, we're not a big company that goes and hires on the outside. So all these kind of people, they train up through, you know, and that's a hard thing because not everybody wants to start from the bottom every time. You know, so
yeah, my dad always told me I wanted to start at the top and work my way down. I think that's a huge. I don't know if it's the privately owned or the individual running everything. You know, is a pair compared to stockholders and what that does and changes that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. If you guys know.
It gives us an advantage. You know, we're a product of you guys, the builders. We want to cater to you guys, obviously. But when we see that shift in the market being privately held, you know, we can make that shift real quickly. You know, when COVID came, we were able to adapt and make the shift really quickly. So
I mean, I think that's really, really something that people don't pay enough attention to is that when you come in here, you're on the team, and we want you to do nothing but excel and grow and do whatever you can do here within the realm of 84. And I think that probably is leadership, it's ownership, it's, you know, the people that you put in place for this whole thing. I think it's amazing because you're in the people business, you know. Whether we, like you said it, and we all have this thing that we wanted to do in our lives, you know. I mean, when you get into it, it's fun, you know, and you know, it's the lumber and the trucks and the forklifts and the people and all these kind of things. That's great. When you become a manager now, you kind of step away from all the fun stuff, and now you got to manage people, and that's a pain in the ass.
It is probably most of my day now is just managing people. Yeah. Yes.
I don't think people understand that, how big of a task that is.
Well, and everything that goes into a home, right? You see more scopes than what we see. We're focused on the framing side of things more and more. But as every year, I don't get a budget that's smaller, right? You don't go into the year thinking, I want to build less this year, so everybody's always looking to grow. And we've added different people, and we do kitchen sales today. That's a different type of person than Mark, maybe,
Yeah.
And so you cater to them a little differently. And I don't know, it's unique. So it's fun. It keeps you on your toes.
That's a Kia versus.
And then as we get older, Jeff, you start hiring these guys, and they're 20 years old, and they're talking about stuff at the counter. You're like, what are you guys talking about? So that brings another fun aspect to it.
To learn them. So when you go to buy, we've had this conversation in the past, but when you got to buy lumber, this lumber has to get there. Two things that I was thinking about while you were talking. One is your focus is for sales is builders, right? I mean, new construction, and it's not retail, so to speak, where you have people, I call retail like the public coming in
88%
on a weekend.
Of my business today is people like you, Jeff.
So they don't want to come in on a weekend and buy, whatever screws and bolts and gas cans and stuff like that. You're selling the hardcore lumber to
every
professionals.
Day you guys are building. This is your living.
Yeah, you're not a hardware store, so to speak. But there are, is that up to you, like the manager? Like if you went to Maggie and said, hey, I see a market for this here, can we do this?
Yeah, it's definitely 100% up to the manager. Again, being that privately held, Maggie holds every manager. She wants them to treat that store like it's their own. You know, and we understand. She understands every market's different. California is not like us. They don't carry the same wood. They're green wood. It's different over there, right? In a lot of different ways, I suppose. But yeah, she challenged that store manager. Like, what does your market need? And then let's adapt to that market. Yeah. And if you go to my 84 Lumber, or if you go to one over in Columbus, they're going to be set up different. They're going to have different things. The material in the yard is going to be different,
Basically, whatever moves.
Yeah.
Like, we see a market for window air conditioners. Let's get those in here. Let's sell them. That'd be fun.
Yeah. In PA, they do a lot of erosion control stuff.
Yeah.
We don't do no erosion.
So how do you get the lumber to the store? And you might not be allowed to say this, but you're the one that has to buy the material on the carload, right? It's on a train. However that works out, from these great big companies. And I don't even know, are they the mill or the companies that you're buying it from? Or is it because it's got to be a tree, and then somebody's cutting a tree down and taking it to a lumber mill, and then that lumber mill, is it selling it to Bighorn and selling it to whoever else, and to get it down here, what is that, Arabic or something like that?
Arabic, Weyerhaeuser, Boise, and all these kind of big.
Do those guys all have their own people out chopping wood, or is, because I think I know things, but I don't really know about where these mills are, and then how does it get to the point where you're ready to start buying kiln dried lumber?
Yeah. So again, that kind of goes back to our corporate office as a team, so I'm probably not so much in the pricing of things or the costing of everything. Sure, we know, right? We have to know in our business, but it's more of a movement for me anyway. Like how much am I going to move this? How much inventory do I have on ground? And usually I'm carrying 30 to 40 days on ground, to cover my builder's needs. And then, I'm supplying that to the corporate office, and they're then going out and doing the buying and stuff for me.
All right.
So they take that off my shoulders a lot on the stock trucks, like you're saying, coming from the mills. So they're placing the orders. The rail cars are coming in, and the rails, they may go on to 15 flatbed trucks and then be distributed out to 1084 Lumbers, so that movement part of there. Locally, we have the ability to work with local reps in local yards and stuff, if we need fill in or specialty items, that'll fall more in the Mark and I's category, Even our salesmen have the opportunity and the ability to go out and make purchase orders, when they need.
You've done that quite a bit, because I'm always like, where'd you come up with that?
Yeah, we're not reinventing wheels. We keep it simple, stupid, I think, was a motto at team headquarters here this year, so we're not reinventing anything, so in an 84, there's no secrets. Everybody's there to do a job, cover overhead, and put a little profit in our pockets and go home and do it again the next day. And we expect our salesmen to have that ability. And so when we're looking at our screens, I think one thing to maybe your point here, Jeff, with the market fluctuate, and we have the ability and our corporate office has the insight to understand what the forecast future has out there. And so when we're looking at bids, not only can my salesman or myself see what our cost is on ground, but we can see what, okay, 45 days from now, we expect the costs are going to be in this area. And then, hey, off replacement cost on ground versus what material we've already purchased coming in, it gives a blended cost to give us the best opportunity to present you with the best number, but protecting both parties too. Because if you come to me and say, hey, the project's not starting until another 6 months, well, we better not be using this cost over here. Let's use that future cost to protect one another, good or bad, plus or minus, because sometimes the market goes down too, So that's where I start coming into more of a play.
That whole lumber deal, like I think that we had this conversation in the last couple of days about there's only so many drywall plants in America. There's only so many OSB plants in America, and we were talking about and when Hurricane Katrina came through, one of the OSB plants, I think, went under, they were under maintenance or it burnt down. And then Katrina came through and everybody's plywood and everything up. And it was, again, it's not about necessarily the price. We couldn't get the material. But then there was I was reading an article in one of the magazines one time, and it must have been up north somewhere, where there's a lumber company that is making our material that we need. And then in that town, they have to do something with the fall off, because there's, when you take a tree and it's round and we want square material out of it, you got to get down to it. So there's fall off, which means the fall off is usually the cheaper, lesser things, which is toilet paper, tissues, which is napkins and things like that. That plant is in the town. So these towns are made up of this whole lumber mill. And whether you agree with tearing trees down or not, you probably all live in a house or something. But so the one lumber company was owned by his family, and they're like, we don't really have a next generation to take it over. There's so much modern technology to come in here. We have to upgrade our facility that's probably $30 million. And we're like, I don't know if we want to do that. So I'm reading this article about this family's decisions, but then the tissue papers down the street, they're like, if these cats ain't here, we ain't here. We got to do something. So it just is a chain effect. And I never put it in perspective thinking about our 2x4s correlating to tissue paper or napkins or something. That's a whole thing. Just, it's amazing how that works. So that was off topic a little bit. But, going back to what we were talking about as far as the loads, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned Zug, because he's a truck driver. Because we were talking about forklift guys and all that, but I can't tell you how important that is, because again, you don't, it's like the Bible. You don't know if it's the good until you realize the bad. You don't realize how good he is until you've had a really shitty truck driver, which is the majority of them. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I know a lot of truck drivers out there, and they're probably going to come in here and kick my ass. I'm just kidding.
Well, Matt's going to definitely appreciate the pat on the back here.
Like, he'll be on his way to the job, and he'll call you and be like, "Man, I'm on my way!" Like, he's so excited to get there. And he's like, "Here's what I got, and here's what I'm going to do." And then when he puts it out there, he tells you asks you where you want it. All these different details that are so important that to make sure that it's right, And then if you get somebody else to come out there, and they'll just, and I'm not saying from your company, but from wherever. If it falls off the truck, it's okay. We'll just leave it there.
Right. Yeah. And you have no idea how many builders is like, Zug's bringing that out, right?
Yeah.
Like, no.
I get requests. Like,
that's what.
Can Matt Zug out to bring it? I'm like, he's only one man.
I tell people, I'm like, hey, if Zug's not bringing it out, you need to be there. If you need to be there with the guys and make sure that it's going there. If Zug's bringing it out, he'll be on the phone with you. You don't have to worry about it. It's not a big deal. How much has that changed? Because, again, back in the day, we used to just have like a flat dump bed, truck.
Oh my gosh,
and I mean, it was miserable because, we didn't do construction drives and all those things back in the day. It was all dirt. Nobody wanted to put the money out for it. You didn't have soil erosion people coming around making sure you were doing all these things. So you had to get it out there early in the morning on a frozen day. If it was raining, there was no way you were going to get it there. Now we have these Moffats, and so the trucks are smaller, but or maybe they're the same size. I don't know. But now we have this 3-wheel forklift that goes on the back of there. That's just unbelievable. Goes just about anywhere and puts the material where we need it. How much of a game changer has that been for you guys?
Humongous. I mean, I remember back in the day when I first started, and all we had were the dump beds, the hydraulic beds, and I have so many stories of guy lifting up a a unit of studs and it falls into their dumpster
or the basement.
or in a basement. I mean, it's been a huge advantage of having that. I mean, there are still kind of limits to what it can do.
Yeah, Jeffrey referred to it as a bulldozer. I think sometimes when you got the weight on it, it'll go. But when you take that unit of material, whatever you're delivering off of it, then it's just a slippery.
It's as useless as a 2-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's rough. That's funny. But it is a game changer. I mean, just seeing things that back in the day, the things we used to have to do in the tow truck bills, and just trying to get that material up there was always was miserable and relying on.
That's a good point too. You look at those equipment, and of course there's a cost to that equipment, and the cost goes up. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to spend the money somewhere, so spend it wiser. Don't be getting tow bills out there.
Well, just not just that. I mean, you think about the placement of the material and how it gets placed, and like I was talking about before, if you guys stack that material on that truck, and we were coming out dumping it, and all the dimensional lumber was on, or the plywood was on top of the dimensional lumber, we got to unload all that stuff and then be able to get down to what we needed. Now with a forklift, and who knows where it ended up at when it was just a matter of how close the truck could get. And now with the forklift, now we're taking it and putting it and placing it real nice all the way around the house, especially when you got walkout and you're building knee walls and things. Those are so nice.
And maybe the listeners don't know too, but I mean, we're bringing it out in sections too. The basement's coming, and then the floor comes, and then the walls, and then the second floor, and then the roof. So that helps with that usage of material too. Your guys aren't cutting 2x12 rafters up. And using them for what we had figured something else.
That's a really good point, because you guys have to stage everything and understand the timeline on when that's. And Mark's got there talking to these guys, talking to the supervisor, talking to the framers, understanding when we need things, and lining that up on the truck and on the board in the morning on when you're going to get there.
And same thing with the yard guys. It's a lot easier. I mean, we know it takes, say, 600 sheets of OSB to do the house. Well, we could build that all in just 4 units and ship it all out there at once, but we're breaking it down into sections and small. So my yard guys are now maybe touching that OSB 3 or 4 times, breaking it out in smaller sections. But that helps. It might be a bigger cost initially with the guys in the yard, but it's saving the cost out in the field, and it's saving the waste out in the field. That OSB is not sitting there all the way until the roof with February weather that we got here now. So those kind of things. How
do you guys make material selections and understand and learn about new materials and things that are available, like at Vantech and Edge Gold plywoods, and deciding if it's an Eastern stud or a Western stud or whatever you do? How do you guys learn about those kind of things?
Well, we're pretty fortunate to have our vendors come in, whether it's local or even, higher up out of state. And they'll come and kind of educate us. We usually always have our Tuesday meetings, sales meetings, and Todd will line up a guest or something to come in and just kind of educate us. Because, I mean, you've seen it more than anybody. I mean, the products are constantly changing.
Yeah.
So, and they're adapting. And during COVID, they were trying to come up with, cheaper resources. Like, what can we come up with? Like this recycled wood, what have you. But no, it's mainly vendors coming in and just educating us and letting us know.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about recycled wood and LVLs and OSB and so many different materials that we use today are materials that are made from.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be plywood, right?
Yeah.
Now all sheathing's OSB. And that's a byproduct of, like you were talking earlier with the tissue and stuff. The wood chips. Yeah.
You got a scrap pile sitting there. It's like, somebody's sitting there going, what can we do with this?
More engineered wood that way is into the homes today than they were probably 15 years ago.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I mean that's the plywood thing is always big, because it's not just the material itself, it's the guys who are installing it. And we were just talking about this yesterday when it was Hurricane Katrina, when it was all that stuff going on, and that plywood, we couldn't find it, and it was so stupid expensive. And back then we were building production houses, so I mean, your numbers were your numbers. You couldn't just bump your prices up that day and try and make it back. And we were literally looking at going back and putting 1x on the roof sheeting instead of putting plywood on there, because it was just so crazy expensive. But I mean, you think about that. That's the way when we get into an old house and we're going to remodel it or or something, there's 1x on the floor, there's rough sawn, 2x joist, the same thing on the sheeting on the walls or on the roofing. It was all just 1x4, it was scrap, whatever you could get to put on there, and then they came up with the plywood.
That old black fuzz board on the walls.
Oh,
I hate it.
that's Celotex. That was miserable.
Gosh.
And we didn't use dumpsters back then. We'd burn everything, and we would, when you put that blue board or that black board on there, man, you burn it, it would just smoke. I mean, it couldn't fly a plane within 20 miles of that place. It was nasty.
Yeah,
but it was nasty to work with. I mean, you had that crap all over you all the time. It was, so there's been a lot of good materials that have come out of it that are a lot better. But I think it's for the people installing it, making it easier for them, but it's also for the betterment of the product. I mean, for when we get through, and the Advantech is great, but I'm just not sold on it yet because I can't find the value to tell my customers, yeah, this is where we spend another $5,000, and we're still sanding all the joints and we're still screwing the floors down just like we did on the other ones. But it's still really good stuff. So I think the same thing with Hardy, James Hardy, and the same thing with all those siding materials. I think that's so important to continue to learn about that. But so just kind of getting into this is a good conversation.
Yeah,
I told you we would.
You're easy to talk to. So it's like a bar talk.
We're just like, I just need a sandwich or something like that to sit here. We've been at this. We've been working together a long time, right? I mean, you said it was 2009 when we signed up with 84, but we've all been working together for a while, and it's important because I cherish what you guys do and appreciate what you guys do, and it's really, really important to me. I was thinking about, and I didn't know if you wanted to say this, but Mark, your daughter's getting married, and you were telling the girls when we walked in about it. But I remember you telling me how you would propose to your wife, and that's when I realized that you knew how to play the guitar. I figured you'd bring a guitar in here today and play a little tune for us.
No, I haven't picked it up since you got married.
But you had such a horrible experience with it the last time. God, don't do that again.
Well, I already won her, so
you don't have to impress nobody anymore.
Yeah. We actually had a conversation about that the other day. It's like, why don't you pick that back up again?
I did not know this. How did I didn't know.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know he played a guitar.
Well, that's because you skipped that dinner we was at that night and you didn't hear all about it.
Oh yeah. So I wasn't any good. It was just mainly
it got the job done. Man. That's what you
got the job done. I don't know how, but I'm just a lucky man, I guess.
Yeah. If I'd have picked the guitar up and asked my wife to marry me, she would have ran the other way. It's been like, nope. So what do you guys when you're selling lumber? I mean, do you want to just sell to anybody, or because I'm pretty particular about our customers, and we have a red flag sheet, and things that happen when people come in here. We have a very long-term relationship with these people, so I want to make sure, and they're doing the same thing with me, is making sure that we're going to get along. We're going to be, it's going to be a lot of up and downs. How are we going to handle the ins and outs and the problem solving together? Do you guys look at that with your customers, or is anybody comes walking in as a builder and they're like, hey, we want to buy lumber from you, you're selling it to them? Or do you kind of be like, man, I don't know if this guy's going to pay us. I don't know I don't know anything about this person. Or they come in, they're already complaining. Do you ever, I don't, maybe you don't want to disclose this, but I mean, this is a part of our business, is dealing with customers and weeding out the rough ones.
Right. Yeah. I mean, mainly it's, can we get the payment done? Because it is a large, expensive project, and it can be frustrating. I know Todd can speak more on this than I can.
That's my Monday morning, is chasing bad debt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, first thing, if they're, everybody wants to come in, they want the builder discount, right? Hey, what's the builder discount? Well, I'm a builder. Right. Well, okay, are you creditworthy? Okay,
right.
That's the very first thing. That's what we try to teach. Are you creditworthy? And then
they want a builder discount from a company that specifically sells to builders. What the hell do you think the price is?
Yeah, there's no secret. There's not a huge markup on a 2x4, right? So there's only so much you can do. But when we're working with our builders, that's what we want. Are you creditworthy? I mean, we're in the market. We're in the community. Are they respectful in the community? I mean, do they have a bunch of liens out there? I mean, you know how the building world.
Got to put your ear to the ground.
We communicate. Everybody knows.
Do you rely on that? Do you rely on rumor?
You not only take rumor as far as you can.
Right.
Let's get in this. Know you, right? We're not a rumor mill by no means, but
it freaks you out if you hear it.
You hear stuff, right?
Yeah.
Everybody talks, right? There's no secrets really in our industry, and I learned really early age of management. Even if an employee goes somewhere else, you don't ever burn that bridge. You're going to work together somewhere. somewhere down the road again, you know? And we know that about people too who want to come work at 84 Lumber. We're not cut out for everybody, and not every builder's cut out for us either. We understand that. So, I mean, I don't want to say we put you up on a wall and we're like, that guy's out or anything like that, but we definitely want to build that relationship, you know? So, and every customer that Mark has may not, you know, work well with another salesman I got either. There's 6 different personalities in there and salesmen I got. So maybe we fit you with somebody else, you know, that can work together.
And I'm sure that probably everybody I talk to, everybody says I'm an asshole and I'm hard to deal with. But I'm always like, the first question that somebody should ask back to that person is, what'd you do to piss him off? Right. It's not like I woke up and I'm like, I hate everybody, I'm going to kill him. So,
we like emotion. That shows you care. That shows you're passionate about it, you know? So, I mean, you got to be able to have a little thick skin, you know, every now and then.
Where did the notion ever come from people where you don't have to pay for something? You know, I mean, that drives me crazy. And I can understand, you know, somebody itching to get a discount or itching to get a better price on something, you know. I always trace it back to my good friend Richard Hoffman. His dad owned a lumber company and years ago, and they were a race team, you know, over there in Milford. I don't know, there he is right there. He's sitting right there, that picture. He passed away in 2019, I think it was, and but he was a developer, builder, but his dad was a lumber salesman, and I was buying some lots off of him. We knew each other just from being in the racing, you know, into race cars and stuff. And I was buying a lot from him one time, and a lot might have been, this is in the middle of the recession. Lot might have been $36,000, and I said, hey, I'll give you 30 for it, and he goes, I'll sell it to you for 30, but you got to tell me why you think it's worth that much. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Now what am I going to say? I was just offering you 30 because I wanted a better deal. And he goes, well, if that's what you want, then just tell me that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't have any basis to say that I went around and shopped and saw this lot down here and saw this lot down here, and whatever the case is. It was just that I was just looking to get a better deal. And so it really opened my eyes to think, you know, man, you know what? You got to do your homework. If you're going to beat somebody down and bargain, the market sets your price, no matter what it is. You guys know that more than anybody. You're a commodity seller.
And everybody's got an overhead.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's got bills to pay. Everybody's got people to pay.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think it's hard to have that conversation with your customer.
It's not.
Like, hey, this is we're here to make money. You're here to make money. This is the bottom line, you know, and I need this X amount to pay my bills and to put a little profit.
But you're so vulnerable because we're not paying up front and we're not getting paid up front. And so, you know, we get paid along the way, same as you guys do. You get paid along the way. But that last payment is usually the profit on that job. And if those people screw you out of it, then you're in trouble. So now you're so vulnerable for anything. And then to go back and try and fight them on it is just like, you know, you might as well punch yourself in the head trying to figure out how to get that money out of them. Which means, you know, I think we should just start our own mafia. And I think we should go back, do things the way the Sopranos did it. And you screw me and I'll screw you. It's just that simple. I think people would have a different attitude. You know what the problem with most of those people is? They've never had their ass kicked. I think that's what the problem is. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm running scared a lot of times because I've been beat down. You know, so I know that if somebody's coming after me, there's a good chance I'm gonna get my ass beat. But if I've never had my ass beat before, I'm probably going to be a little bit more mouthy about it.
I mean, that should be a slogan: "Make ass kickings great again."
This conversation's taking a bad turn, but it's true. I
as
think
long as you're in my corner, we'll be fine.
You're so vulnerable when you're in business and people owe you money, and the mindset is how can I get it cheaper and how can I not pay for this? And I rarely do that whole deal where we're back charging, you know, where we're coming back and looking at things. But man,
if that's the conversation in the initial meeting, then you're going to be fighting that all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, and people are talking about. We were just talking about this job that we didn't get the other day, and we didn't want it. We were just trying to help somebody, and she kept saying, "Well, I guess they're doing it for less profit." And I'm like, "That's not the way it works. It just doesn't work that way, man. I mean, nobody's out here just getting super stupid rich, you know." So it's just funny what that mindset is. But that's a conversation that you have to have with the customers on the front end.
Right.
And if we're not there to make sure that you guys are being profitable and continue to be part of the team and whatever it is, you'll rarely hear me say, hey, can you come back and do it cheaper? You'll hear me say, hey, is there what can we do to cut the cost on this? Did you see something in the truss design? Did you see something in the floor choice design? Did you see something that's going to be wasteful or whatever it is? And you'll come back to me and say, hey, Jeff, there's $100,000 worth of LVLs in this house. And I'm calling Mark up, the architect, and I'll be like, hey, man, what are you doing here? Let's see if we can work something different out. That's what I'm talking about, that mindset of what can we do to work together to figure out a lesser price if that's the case. But again, find value in what you're getting and understanding what you need. That was good. That conversation took a little bit of a turn there. Maggie's probably not going to want to listen to this
no,
now.
Maggie would love that.
Maggie's going to be like,
no, Maggie would.
What were you guys doing down there?
She would probably say, yeah, let's get that mafia started. So for sure.
What do you guys? So we're bumping up against. Let's wrap it up. But I mean, is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on? I mean, do you guys want to touch on the tiny homes and the disaster relief efforts and the Building Hope program?
The tiny homes came into a time where. I think that was popular, and I think we sold one tiny home in our location to a trade school, actually.
Really?
And they bought it to bring into their trade school and teach the kids framing of a house.
Oh, nice.
I was like, hey, that's a kind of a neat little concept. So we got behind that. But to sell one that somebody actually lived in, I can't say we have. But it's definitely unique. It was fun. It was different to see that 84 Lumber kind of, took an opportunity and had a couple of different designs and jumped onto something like that. And then locally, again, that management thing on the reliefs and everything. When I like to donate to the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
I like seeing them bring pictures of their benches or their decks and stuff.
Were you involved in the Boy Scouts?
I was not.
Yeah. Were you?
No.
No, I would have been kicked out.
I was in the Cub Scouts when I was little, but I never took it all the way. But I know guys that have, and it's like, man, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see why you would want to help them out.
Well, I think not just the building part of it, but here comes this young gentleman or young lady, or they're coming into the store and they got this little list and they're all pretty shy and they're asking for a donation, and so I like seeing them coming out and actually talking to you, looking you in the eye, shaking your hand, and they're so grateful and they're so excited. But that's a big deal for that young individual today, especially, I think, to have that interaction with a professional, like, kind of, environment. They can be intimidated a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
I think I like that part of it. I think they learn more from that than they do the actual building part of it.
Absolutely.
Interacting.
That's so important for kids to be able to get out of your comfort zone and go and have to ask somebody for a donation. That's tough.
It is. And we do a little bit. Sometimes we'll donate some call lumber. I've got a buddy that I graduated Wilmington with, and he works with at-risk teens. They're at a local school, and he gets them to, understand power tools. And so they'll take some of that scrap lumber that we donated to them. And what they build us, those pumpkins.
Well, they built 2x4 pumpkins and orange pumpkins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
there was something else they built too one time.
They did the Christmas tree? They did Christmas trees for, I think, a show or something.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just great being able to.
I think the local firemen, we donate that call lumber to, and they'll build stuff and practice burning and stuff, so
call lumber is lumber that's twisted up.
It's twisted,
burn up.
Warped.
You can't use it.
Yeah. We send it out to your job site, and you would be really mad at us.
Right. There's a company down here called Scrap to Home that we were telling them it was stuff. I think they have a truck now, but all of the stuff that all the dimensional lumber, if we were going to throw it in a dumpster, we would just put it next to the dumpster and they'd come out and pick it up, and they build furniture out of it, and it was really good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, instead of me throwing it in the dumpster, I might as well just donate it.
And I would love to still continue to help them. I think it was more of like a communication gap between me and them, and saying, hey, it's ready, and then it would sit there for a little while, and then we don't want the job site. But there's so many things you can do like that to help people. Yeah. And I'll tell you, and I know Cody would say this, thank you for, you guys support him in the county fair every year. And again, I think that comes to you guys are familiar with the county fair and how important it is to kids' lives. Just like when you're talking about with helping those teenagers out, and if it takes one kid and the kid swings a hammer and is like, oh, kind of like this, and it sets their pace into this industry, that is the greatest thing that you can do. And giving them inspiration that they didn't otherwise know that they could find.
And they talk and they communicate. I mean, I did it one time, and I think now every year I'll get a little Boy Scout coming in there. I'm like, all right, you must have been talking to so-and-so from last year.
That's good. A little marketing.
Yeah.
That's good. Way to do it. Way to do it, man. What else? What didn't we talk about? Man, I feel like we've got so much more. Anything that you want to add to it? Because I mean, I think that what about the future of 84 lumber? I mean, we're all about the same age, and we've only got so much time left, and you guys are planning on spending it at 84 lumber. What do you think is going to be great? What do you think is going to come along down the road? Do you think it's going to maintain? What about the excitement of this market? You guys are one of the people, and everybody does a little bit, but you guys are the main commodity next to steel that we deal with, and it's always riding that wave all the time. Is that exciting, or does it freak you out?
I mean, after so long, I guess maybe you get used to it. COVID, it freaks you out. You know? Now it's settled down. It's not so stressful today. I think more and more of the future is like what additional products, this engineered lumber. I mean, even in homes today on some of the bigger balloon frame walls, we're using LSLs and different things like that. I think that's going to be probably the next chapter of our industry, and we can only cut so many trees down a year, right? So utilizing those products, you touched on it with the Hardy. I mean, Hardy came in. I mean, you remember cedar. I mean, good luck getting cedar today. Yeah. A long length.
Isn't that crazy?
Everybody wants 16 foot. Well,
man,
guess what? You're not getting a 16 foot.
My dad built houses in Beckett Ridge and Landon and all over the place, and they were all cedar siding and they were all cedar shake roofs. The whole house, the whole exterior of the house was cedar, and it lasted forever. But I mean, it was not that big of a deal back then.
Well, today it would cost you a small fortune. For one, the consistency of the material just isn't there anymore.
What happened? I mean, was there fires or what happened?
Well, I don't know. I know a lot had to do with it. Mainly came out of Canada and
or Western
United
States.
United States.
So I think the availability of it, you hear the old timers all the way. They don't make 2x4s like they used to. The lumber's smaller, right? We hear it all the time.
They literally make them the same way.
They make it the same way, but the trees are smaller. There's tree farms and they're getting cut down earlier. The mature trees maybe aren't there anymore. I think that's probably where it's. Do you think
it's like the people who are trying to protect the trees? Has that got something to do with it? Where they're trying to?
I guess I don't get into that so much.
I don't get into it either. I just did pop the thought popped into my mind as we're sitting here thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't, not to the large degree that we probably see here once it hits our level.
Redwood was always a big thing that we always used back in the day. Primed redwood, finger jointed redwood, and it was always it was not the least expensive, but it was the easiest to work with and the easiest available. And we don't do that anymore either.
No, it's becoming. It was available like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
it was readily available along with cedar, and anymore it's just.
But these products are made to replicate those products. We want that look, we want that style, that craftsman home, these kind of things. So Hardy, you get a consistent 12-foot piece of board. It's the same one in the whole pack. And that does help with the waste. That does help with the speediness maybe of the procedure of the home as it's being built. Those kind of things I think are exciting for maybe us older guys. But really, I keep talking about the people. I keep going back to the people. And I think, I don't know, I like bragging about this, but 55% of my staff are under 30 right now.
Oh,
right?
Nice.
And the way they think about things, the way they challenge, why do we deliver it that way? Why don't we have a delivery board, a digital board where everybody's got it on their phones? Or why don't we do this? And why can't we? And those kind of things I see 84 Lumber listening to, and our IT department today is larger than it was when we started. And those kind of things excite me. How can we be more efficient? You were talking about the deliveries and the pictures. Well, now today I can pull up a delivery that Zoog pulled today, and he'll have pictures posted on there where he dropped it. And Mark and I can sit here and talk to you, and we can see where your product was dropped here now. Those kind of efficiencies and things are, I guess, maybe what I'm more excited about. Because again, keep it simple, stupid. We're going to shove 2x4s out there. It's not rocket science. But where can we get better for you guys, the builders, on the backside of things?
Man, we talk about this all the time, especially in our business and in our team, as having people, no matter what age they are, but having people who are willing to question the status quo.
Yeah.
I mean, they're why do we do that? Why do we do that? They're not like, why do we do that? I got a friend, I call him Why Mike, because every time we talk about it, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? I'm like, well, do you have an answer? I mean, quit coming to me with the question. Let's start talking about the answer. But you're saying, why would we do that? As to, let's dissect it and figure out a better way to do it. Or is this the best way to do it? And how do we educate ourselves to continue to learn more? And really we're doing all this. I always tell everybody we're doing all this because it's better for our customers. customers, better for our houses. Those are the two main focuses that we have here: is our customers and our houses that we want to do better for. So. I think there's so much that goes along. We could sit here and talk all day, man. We can make this 2 episodes. Leanne just walked in here before, like she was just checking on us to take pictures. It drives her insane that these are so long, that these podcasts. She wants them to be 20 minutes. I'm like, you can't do shit in 20 minutes. We want to be here for the rest of the day, just talking and hanging out. That's why she came in here. She's like, "Are you about done? Or what are we gonna do?" But if you guys, do you have anything else? You look like you were looking at some notes, like you were getting ready to say something.
Just your notes. You kind of give us a little pinpoint things here. But no, I don't. Again, with people, and I think we talk about this a lot in our industry too. And if there is anybody looking to start a career, I think now it's an exciting time for a young person to get into this industry.
Absolutely.
And and that excites me as a manager. Of people, right? Again, I think the root of our projects are going to be framing and construction, but those kind of things, the next chapter of a young generational, not just builders, but employees, So
I would extremely encourage kids to go to the career centers. My son actually did it. And we do that. Your breakfast appreciation with Butler Tech is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing those young kids, and I'm sure they're just going to continue to succeed.
So important.
Everything they learn.
Mm-hmm. So important. And because I'll tell you this, that I hate that the construction industry becomes a fallback industry where everybody's pushing kids to go to college. Mm-hmm. And when that doesn't work out, well, I'll just go be a plumber. Well, I'll just go be a framer or something like that.
I don't think that mindset's there anymore. It's changing. There's a shift.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think because I'll tell you that college is nothing more than a business at this point. Yeah. I mean, they're hustling money through there, and it's by the time my kids get there, it's going to be $100,000 a year to go to school, and they're going to be learning probably less than what they did for when I was at ATI for $3,000 a year. I mean, it's crazy. So if you can find the heart and the love for something that you do, working with your hands, being a manufacturer, making something, having satisfaction at the end of the day. I mean, the construction business, you could go to right out of high school and go start learning how to be a plumber, and by the time you're 25 years old, man, you're killing it. I mean, it's just that simple. There's things that are there. You go and start working at 84 Lumber and out of high school, and they're going to be setting you on a path for success. I mean, that's what they're there for.
I mean, I love talking about my company, obviously, but again, we promote from within a good bit. I mean, we had Brian just promoted as a co-manager. He's in Indiana now. He's nice. 20 years old?
20 years old.
20 years old. He worked with me for 7 months as an MT, and now he's a co-manager of one of our stores in Indianapolis, And again, that excitement, I think, feeds not just from here at my store, but it'll get to your job sites too, and as a store manager or a product manager or builder yourself, you go on the job site, you see it kind of over and over, and you kind of get tuned, you kind of get used to seeing, okay, I open my gates at 6, there's that. And these guys come in and they got a whole new eye and a whole bright new thing of viewing at things. And when they bring that to the table and when you encourage that, it just funnels through the whole system and the whole store. Next thing you know, it's out on the job site and guys are laughing and guys are having fun, and that's the camaraderie. It's almost like a locker room, and everybody's just hanging out.
And I brought Dante out. He was helping me move some material.
He's one of our yard guys,
And I mean, he's a fantastic guy, awesome attitude, and he just was glamoring over your house. Is just like, whoa, look
that's
at this.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll put them in the truck, take them to a job every now, because they see the lumber. They don't see what the end product is all the time.
That's difficult for a lot of people that I don't wrap my head around, forgetting that these guys are there during the rough stages or during the beginning of the project, and they never see the end product. And for them to come back and see these cool houses that we're building and be like, man, I worked on that thing. That is amazing. That's pretty cool.
And that's why I appreciate those newsletters that you send, because I'll send them to Todd and Caleb and
the team
trust company. And it's like this is what we contribute. So
that's a huge deal. I tell everybody this all the time.
Things add up.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's part of all what we do, and I think that it's really important for us to be as older guys in this business. Never thought we'd say that.
I don't think we're that old.
We're not that old, but we're older. Like when you started talking about those guys under 30, and I started talking about
you should hear some of the conversations they have. You don't know what they're talking. They don't even know movie references.
What year were you born? And then it was like 10 years after I was out of high school.
My wife was worried about me shoveling snow. She thought I was going to have a heart attack. So.
No, I'll hire them today. And they're like, well, we weren't born then yet. I'm like, what? When were you born?
My wife used to say, go work hard or whatever. Now she's like, be careful out there. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm worth more dead than I am alive. She's probably putting ice outside the door. I tell everybody this all the time, and I tell our team this here, is that Wieland Builders is a team, and it's not about me. It's not about Mike. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about everybody, including you guys, including all of our trade partners and suppliers. So every time we refer to Wieland Builders, that's who I think about. I think about all these different people, and like you were just talking about, the truck drivers, forklift operators, the truss guys, the all these different people on any individual house that adds up to be about 400 and something people, 450 people altogether that have worked on that house. And it's crazy how many people touch it. But it's kind of disappointing how many people don't realize it, how important they are and how cool it is. But that's that team. And like I said, when we started out this podcast, is that you are a key player in this team. I mean, it's so important about what you do. And I just want to make sure that you know how much I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the relationship and the camaraderie that we have. And again, we had our plumber on here last week. And I told him a long time ago, I said, I think you suck as a plumber, but you're a hillbilly redneck just like me, and we're going to keep you around for a little while. And I was kidding, because he's a really good plumber. But I think that when we have those common ground, I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for all you do.
We're really thankful. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, we appreciate you, everything, just being loyal and everything.
Yeah. That's what it's about, man. Yeah. That's what it's about, working together.
It's always easy to come in and talk to you. So again, I think that's a testament of how you operate your team too.
I hope so. I hope so. That's what we want. Open door and working together and making sure we keep this thing going.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Man, we appreciate you guys. This is Todd Casey and Mark Staley from 84 Lumber here on the WB Download. Well, that's it, folks, right there. That was an awesome interview. I enjoyed it. I felt like we could just sit here for another couple hours and talk about things with these guys. But like the things that we have in common, and Mark and I, and being in the agricultural industry a little bit with our kids and 4-H and being around that kind of stuff is one of the things that gets us along and really well. But the other thing is that you do a great job. And you react very quickly. You take care of business, and you take care of Wieland Builders and their customers, and that's an enjoyable part. But these guys care, and they care, and this is something that we're going to continue to talk about for the rest of the year. Your give a shit matters, and this is really what it all boils down to. You can sell lumber, you can provide lumber, but if you don't care what you're doing, it's not going to be a great experience. And these guys are some of the best at it. So thanks again, Mark and Todd, for being here, for all the things that you do with us here at Wieland Builders and with our customers. And thanks for taking time out of your day to jump on the show. Thank you for the audience for listening week after week and month after month. I'm sorry. And, we really appreciate all the stuff that you guys do. And I hope that you're getting value out of this. Except for last week, because, my buddies out there in Golden, Colorado and Bloomington, Indiana, and out in Iowa and Davenport, they all told me that they felt like I phoned it in, like I didn't do a good enough job talking about basements. I felt like I did too. So good days and bad days. Don't forget to subscribe to the WB Download on your favorite podcast service. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. That's a big deal for us right now. And don't forget that we drop on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And next episode, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to learn about hardwood floors from Mansion Hill hardwood, and we've got some really cool dudes. Bill and Andrew are going to come in here and talk to us. They schooled me a couple days before we did this interview. They schooled me and Alicia down at their shop on hardwood floors. Now, I've been doing this literally, building houses and being around flooring my whole life. And we got down there and listened to these guys talk for a little while. And we took a tour through their shop and got introduced to a number of different things. And I was just in awe. I'm like, this is so cool. For one, these guys are groovy into it, man. I mean, they love it. They're all about hardwood, and they know what's going on with it. But two, man, I didn't realize there was so much different options out there. I didn't realize there was these different things we could do with stuff that we're going to educate our customers on, the things that we're going to do with this. And for three, they're brand new to our company. And they are already setting the pace to do a great job. So looking forward to that. Anyway, if you want to be part of the conversation, jump on to WB Download at WielandBuilders.com. WB Wieland Builders, WB. download at WIELAND builders.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show, feel free. Reach out. Let's talk about anything. It doesn't even have to be about building. Come on, man. Call me up. Let me know. I'll get you on here. We can make a conversation out of it. And if you want to see some more behind the scenes of Wieland Builders, check out our website at wielandbuilders.com. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks again for Todd and Mark for being here and just being awesome people and taking time out of your day. I'm Jeff Wieland here on the WB Download.